Hey everybody, welcome back to the Joe Rockstar channel. It's been a while since we've spent some quality time together, and I miss our long talks, waxing poetic about the deeper philosophy of off-road dirt bike racing.
You alright? I promised my wife that I wouldn't ride so close to any cliffs. I hate to break my promise, but honey, there's nowhere else to go. You gotta follow the trail where it takes you. Oh yeah, I tell you something, I think you'll understand. I don't know the words to the Beatles songs. I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand.
To ensure you don't miss a single episode, subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell icon to receive a notification whenever a new video comes out. For the more serious rock stars out there, you can support the channel through my website at www.joerockstar.com. There you will find links to help keep the channel running via PayPal, Patreon, or purchasing Joe Rockstar gear like hats and t-shirts. Recently, I got into one of my salty moods and I decided to challenge a well-known adage in the dirt bike world that says, upgrading your suspension is the most important mod you should make to a new bike. Well, most riders have either heard this or said to another rider at least once that a suspension upgrade is the mod that will make the biggest difference in your riding. After spending a large chunk of change on a suspension revalve and respring on the 500 a few years ago, I was less than amazed at the results. So overall, I'm really happy with what Donnie at ZR1 did with the suspension. I'm not 100% sure if it's a great job on the suspension. That's just a product of being a new rider. I know I should stop, I'm not like brand new, but I'm still fairly new at riding, and so this only being my second bike and the first not being a real dirt bike, I don't really know what the suspension is supposed to feel like. Sure, it felt a little better, but by no means was it worth the money in my mind. But I couldn't bring myself to believe that so many people could be wrong, so I chalked it up to my slow riding and lack of experience. I figured being a newbie, I couldn't even recognize, let alone use a good suspension to its full potential. So to be clear, my position on the subject was pretty much along the lines that only an experienced and faster rider could even tell the difference between a good suspension and a stock suspension. So new riders should just set the sag on the stock suspension, play with the clickers until they're happy, and save their money for gas and tires. And oh boy, was that enough to just about get banned from all dirt bike related discussions. No one wanted to hear that, especially people who put a lot of cash into their suspension upgrades. After some spirited arguments, I stuck to my guns until a very rough day on the rocky trails of Kelly Canyon in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm here with Chris Bouchard. You know him, his number is 613 on the Yamaha. That's always like up my ass and you know, giving me a hard time on the course. And we're headed up to Flagstaff to practice up at Kelly Canyon, which is the site of the next race. And it's really going to be my first time ringing out the 350 since she came back from the shop. I'm sure Chris is going to have a great time, like roosting me the whole day, right? 2 days.
Hope so.
But yeah, we're going to camp out, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to film some stuff, so hopefully you guys enjoy what you see, and I don't make one of those stupid videos that I was just saying I don't make. All right, take it easy. Don't cuss, Chris. This is a family channel. We're filming. We're out here at Flagstaff. This is the campsite. I'm getting ready to go on a little warm-up. So, I'm too weak to get it off the stand. I am definitely not in shape for this stuff.
Even though I was focused on using my legs to grip the bike and keeping my hands loose and relaxed to avoid the arm pump, the way my front wheel was pinballing left and right off the rocks, I just couldn't loosen my death grip on the bars. Feeling like I had been trying to hold on to a jackhammer for an hour, I started to wonder if maybe the problem could be related to the suspension.
What?
How is it? You good?
Nah, man, I think the suspension needs work. After all that conversation about well, you know, like this is the first really rocky stuff I've ridden on this.
How do you work this thing? I'm Joe Rockstar.
No, I'm Joe Rockstar.
No, I'm Joe Rockstar.
I'm Joe Rockstar. Look at my bike. It's a Husqvarna. Yes, I'm Joe Rockstar.
All right, so that's the end of our riding up here at Flagstaff. We got to pack up and get out of here. 3 days of riding, and I didn't lay my bike down once. I think it's ready for new plastic.
And suspension.
And suspension.
And rider.
And rider. All right, that's enough. That's enough.
What happened?
Peanut gallery. Maybe it's time to give the old suspension upgrade a second chance. But here's the thing. I just got the Husky back after an expensive repair. I mean, I really screwed up. I have to be honest. The Husky had some serious chunks of metal on the magnetic drain bolt, and the clutch was burning up my oil, destroying parts of the clutch and engine. And it was all my fault. I learned a real expensive lesson here. I made a simple but huge mistake during the Recluse clutch install, and it managed to stay hidden for almost a year. Did you catch it? Did you see the mistake? Let's take another look. See, a steel drive plate up against another steel drive plate without a friction plate in between means that metal was rubbing on metal inside of my clutch for a year. And you don't need to be a mechanical engineer to understand how bad that can be. But here's something really cool that came out of this. Even though it was my mistake, Recluse customer service was amazing. They sent me almost an entire replacement clutch. CSA did what they could to minimize the repair bill, but it still broke the bank at over $2,000 in parts and labor. So, while I was just beginning to find a newfound love of the two-stroke after a top-end rebuild and finally getting the jetting right, I would have to sell her right away in order to cover the cost of the Husky repairs. Yeah, and I know what some of you are thinking. Why didn't I just keep the 300 and sell the Husky? Well, the complicated answer is that I don't have the title for the Husky. And there's probably no one that would pay me enough money for the Husky that I could get the title. I did, however, own the 300 outright. The simple answer is that I love both bikes, and I don't want to lose the Husky any more than I wanted to give up the KTM 300. So now I'm back to one bike, the Husqvarna FX 350. But that's not a bad thing. I love the Husky, even after these problems. After all, I was the root cause of the breakdown in the first place. But still, even though I love it, there's a few things that weren't great about the Husky that aren't my fault. And one of those things is the tendency for the Husky to have difficulty starting, which always sucks in a race with a dead engine start. And another more rare but frustrating problem is the tendency for the bike to run way too lean and flame out. So, off to Blaze Racing went the ECU to get remapped, while the bike and I would head 3 hours north to Scottsdale to drop the bike off at SP Suspension, where a couple of guys were chomping at the bit to prove me wrong about suspension upgrades. Challenge accepted.
Hey, welcome to Stillwell Performance. Come on in.
this is stage one of getting this bike ready to race again. Suspension. They saved a bunch of weight by eliminating a lot of the key heavy parts of the suspension. And so now with the bike a lot lighter, it should be able to do pretty well.
It's a hover bike now.
It's a hover bike now,
or
yeah.
whatever the heck they call those things.
It definitely feels softer. Is that where we're going with this? Plusher? Because that's what I'm feeling. I think a day of riding is really going to be the test on it. You all right? This suspension mod was feeling great, and it had me riding just a little bit faster than normal. I mean, I had less fear. It felt like you could plow right into anything and the bike would just soak it up. And so, eventually I got in a little over my head. But it's all in the name of science. And for the rest of the day, I would look for the worst lines I could possibly take, and try not to loft the front wheel whenever there was something in front of me, just to see how well the suspension could take it. What? Okay, I'm stuck. Thanks, man. I haven't felt any really hard square hits or anything. Like, the log sucked. The log really sucked. I just tried to wheel it over and I got stuck. Because I suck, I've never done it before. I've only seen it on TV. But so far, the suspension is legit. I mean, I have to admit it. It's a big difference. It's making a huge difference in the way that I'm riding. welcome back to the Joe Rockstar channel. We're here at Stillwell Performance where I dropped my bike off previously to get some suspension work done on it. You want to tell them what you guys went ahead and did?
Yeah, so we did our basic AER package here to kind of optimize the suspension on this Husky. There's two main reasons why anybody would really get any valving done or suspension set up, and that's to either get the bike to fit their needs, whether that would be off-road, motocross, or they're just out there going to have some fun, or they're trying to fix, maybe some defect that the factory has or a flaw that the factory suspension might have. And so in this case, we did a little bit of both, and then we optimized the friction that the air fork has by installing some aftermarket parts. With this setup, you're going to notice that the initial part of the stroke will be a bit more plush for all those rocks that you're trying to hit up in Kelly Canyon. However, we try and build in as much progression and bottoming resistance, so you're still going to be able to hit and attack some of the high speed sections and whoops without the bike wanting to wallow or seesaw back and forth. And we're just really trying to get the bike to fit you, by either changing out the rear spring, which we did in this case to account for a little bit more weight than what these are designed for from the factory, and then just getting the air pressure set it right in the forks.
Right, all right.
And then you and I were talking a little bit about how Arizona terrain can differ so much from, whether you're down south or up north, and you and I can talk together as far as what clicker settings we might want to go with, depending on where you're riding that weekend.
Yeah, because that was probably another thing that had something to do with it, and we talked a little bit about this, is when I got my suspension back, it was like, hey, your suspension's done, here you go. Mm-hmm. And you put it back on your bike yourself, and then you don't know what to do after that. So you guys are willing to kind of help with the clicker adjustments, maybe teaching as well as doing the work. So there's a lot of customer support. Is this something that you do like as a rule, like over your competitors? Because I noticed that there's not a lot of support from some of the other companies out there. They certainly don't say that they're providing.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so here at Stillwell, we take a lot of pride in our customer relations. And so I talk with every single customer that comes through the door. If not, they talk to my lead technician. And we're still relatively small compared to our main competitors, and I think anytime that you have a huge volume of customers, it's hard to talk to each and every one of them. So we're still fortunate in that we are capable and able to do so, and it lends for a better product in the end,
Right.
because I'm able to speak with them and find out what their exact needs are.
I think that has a lot to do with me actually coming to you guys or talking to you. Obviously Nathan, and then you are both approachable people, very down to earth. Did it make me feel stupid about anything?
No.
Or maybe Nathan did a little bit.
No, yeah.
It really didn't make me feel stupid about anything. You've been teaching me the whole time that we've been talking about this stuff. I've been learning things. I see your operation, which is awesome. I definitely recommend that if you're in the area and you can bring your bike, you bring it. Of course, if you're not in the area, you can mail it, right? You guys get a lot of your business through that.
Yeah, most of my business is actually outside the state. This company was founded in Colorado, so we really know what it means to go through some, gnarly single track, and we know what it takes to get through rocks. We also do a lot of business back east and even outside the states, Canada, Mexico, South America, all over the place. We even have a franchise in Australia. So we have a broad reach, even though we're a small company.
So I saw you do mountain bikes as well.
Yeah, so the mountain bikes has been a new venture for us. It's been going really good so far. There's a lot of new technology coming out with the mountain bike suspension.
So I know you're a small company, but you guys have helped some teams and stuff, right?
We've been very fortunate. The person that founded this company, Alan Stillwell, he did an amazing job starting this company and just really fine-tuning suspension work and learning the ins and outs. We did all the suspension for factory beta for about 5 years when they first started in Enduro Cross and all the hard Enduro series or Enduro series, and we were able to compete with all the big boys, even winning the championship in 15 with Cody Webb. Or was it 14? 14, yeah, see, that's what I thought. Even working with Cody Webb, we were able to beat out the KTM factory team, and he won the championship in 2014 on our suspension.
Nice.
So,
me and Cody would go way back, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I've heard all the crazy stories.
He studies my technique and he uses it, applies it actually pretty well, better than I do.
That's good. That's good. It's tough to do.
It is tough to do. Colton could use a few tips from me, but he's got his own thing going on. Whatever. Anyways, sorry. I didn't mean to go there.
It's all good.
It's not about me.
No worries.
It's about you.
Yeah, no, it's about the suspension.
It is about the suspension.
And how it's going to help you. So, the idea here is we want the bike to feel more comfortable for you. We want you to be able to really try and push yourself longer into the race without getting fatigued, and just all, feel that confidence in the bike and knowing what it's going to do underneath you.
Yeah, just the limited testing that I had out there, I actually can feel a difference. So when I was hitting whoops and going through them, whether it was mental or real feeling, I felt like I could go faster than I felt like I could go before. And I think there is something to be said with the argument that a good suspension, no matter what level of rider you are, you're going to feel more confident with your bike. You're not going to hit things and get shocked or surprised or scared all of a sudden and then slow down. You'll actually feel like you can do things faster. Things won't scare you as much coming up on the G-outs or the ditches or the rocks or whatever it is. You're a little less afraid of it. You don't lose as much speed. And I think that just all around makes you a better and faster rider.
Yep.
So even the beginners have something to gain from this. And
more often than not, it's the beginners that can use the most help, because these bikes typically aren't set up for beginners. They're usually set up for guys that are lighter in the range, 160 pounds, 170 pounds, and also fairly quick. And so that's where getting the damping taken care of for a rider of your level, B rider, and then making sure that we have the big heavy truck springs in there to lift you up and keep the bike nice and high in the stroke, because that's going to be
a little lighter than I thought I was.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's go ring it out and see how she works.
Keep it pinned.
With the suspension and the ECU taken care of, the bike was just about race ready, but something still wasn't right. This Husqvarna FX350 looks like it's gone through a meat grinder. Something definitely needs to be done about that. So, a little plastics and graphics refresh is in order. I know it's a little early, but the change to yellow plates is only a few races away, and I didn't want to pay for green and then order yellow in a few months. Maybe I'll race in the B class sooner than I thought, or I'll just put some green tape over the yellow for now. Either way, now the FX350 looks like a real average Joe Rockstar race bike. Let's hope the rider's up to the challenge. Looks like he might be struggling to get that weight under control. Will we ever see a thin Joe Rockstar again? Only time will tell. And speaking of time, I must leave you once again. So stay cool, all you average rock stars, and we'll see you next time.